So this story was shared with me by a friend, and it's so nice that I wanted to share it with you guys right away. So there was once a medical camp where an old man had recently suffered a heart attack and was lying on a bed in a tent. Conditions were appalling. It was raining heavily, and there didn't seem to be much hope. The nurse who was attending the old man happened to see a young army major approaching the tent. She went to the major and led him into the tent and asked him to sit next to the old man. The old man was hazy, he was delusional, but seeing this gentleman come and sit next to him, he immediately seemed to recognize him and held the young man's hand. Tears rolled down his cheek. He couldn't say much, but he closed his eyes and seemed to be experiencing some sort of a relief. The night was young. The young major, sat next to the old man, comforting him, not saying much, but just holding his hand, being there. And the old man seemed to, through all of his pain, find some respite and slowly breathed his last. By the break of dawn, the old man had passed on, and the nurse walked in, completed the rituals, covering his face, with a cloth, and she then turned to the major and said, "I'm glad you could make it in time. He was waiting for you." To which the major turned to the nurse and asked her, "Who was that man? I have never seen him before. I do not know who he was." The nurse was bewildered and said, "He was your father. He said he was waiting for his son, and then you arrived. He said his son was serving at the army. You arrived, sat next to him, held his hand, sat with him through the night. Aren't you his son?" The major turned to the nurse, looked up and said, "No, I was here to meet one Mr. Vikram Salaria, whose son was serving in battle with me and was unfortunately shot dead yesterday. I was here to inform the father about his son's demise. The nurse was dumbfounded. She looked up to the major again and said, "The man that you sat by, holding his hand through the night, was Mr. Vikram Salaria, and he'd been waiting for his son." It turns out, therefore, that the major had just come to inform the father of his son's demise, and he ended up sitting through the night comforting a man he did not even know, simply because his hand was the one that was available at that point. There'll be many times in life when we'll be in situations where someone can do with a hand, someone can do with a little bit of comforting, with a little bit of company. There'll be times when we might need a hand, and frankly, if you had someone giving you a hand, would you care who that person is, if they are willing and available? Maybe we can take some inspiration from this and know that the world needs a lot more kindness than it currently gets. So if we get an opportunity to hold someone's hand, give them some respite, some comfort in this transitional journey of ours, maybe we should consider doing that. It may just give a dying man a few moments of peace, at the least. Thank you for listening in, like always, and I hope to see you in the next one.